The studio lights burned bright, casting a warm glow over the set of the Kelly Clarkson show. The audience buzzed with anticipation, their chatter filling the air as Kelly Clarkson stepped onto the stage, her signature smile lighting up the room. She waved, her energy infectious, and the crowd roared back, ready for another episode filled with her mix of humor, heart, and unfiltered conversation. Today's guest was Mark Wahlberg, the Hollywood heavyweight known for his gritty roles, sharp wit, and reputation for never shying away from speaking his mind. In her opening monologue, Kelly teased the interview with her usual charm, joking about Mark's brutal workout routines and his uncanny knack for stealing scenes in every movie. The audience laughed, but beneath the surface, a ripple of tension stirred, subtle but real. Backstage, Mark paced the green room, his swagger tempered by a restlessness he couldn't shake. His team hovered around him, adjusting his jacket, offering him water, but he waved them off, his jaw tight. He had done countless talk shows before, from Kimmel to Fallon, and he knew the drill. Keep it light, plug the movie, smile for the cameras. But something about today felt different. Maybe it was the questions he'd heard Kelly might ask, ones that dug deeper than he liked. Or maybe it was the cryptic call he'd gotten that morning from an old friend, dragging up memories he thought he'd buried. Whatever it was, Mark wasn't in the mood for fluff. The stage manager gave the cue, and Mark strode onto the set. The crowd erupted, cheers bouncing off the walls as he offered a tight smile and a quick wave. Kelly greeted him warmly, hugging him, but his response was clipped. His eyes scanned the audience as though sizing them up. They settled into the plush chairs meant to resemble a cozy living room, though the bright cameras betrayed the illusion. Kelly began lightly, asking about his latest high-octane thriller, the kind of movie that had critics buzzing. Mark leaned back, his answers polished but distant, like he was reciting lines he didn't quite believe in. The audience laughed politely at his quips about dodging explosions, but Kelly, sharp as ever, noticed the edge in his voice. She pivoted, her tone still light but probing, asking about how he balanced his Hollywood career with raising kids in the spotlight. Mark's smile faltered, just for a second, but it was enough. He shifted in his seat, fingers drumming the armrest. "It's tough, you know," he said, his Boston accent cutting sharper than usual. "People think they get you, but they don't. They see the movies, the red carpets, but they don't see the real stuff." Kelly leaned in, sensing an opening. "What's the real stuff, Mark? What's the part we don't see?" The question hung heavy in the air. The audience fell silent. Mark's jaw clenched, and for a moment it looked like he might brush it off with a joke. But then he leaned forward, his voice low and sharp. "You want real? People love to judge. They love to tear you down when you're on top. But they don't know what it takes to stay there." Kelly tilted her head, calm and steady. "I hear you. But sometimes opening up, letting people in, it humanizes you. Don't you think that's part of it?" Mark let out a short laugh, more a scoff. "Humanize? That sounds like a trap," the audience murmured. Kelly kept her smile, but her eyes flicked toward the stage manager. She wasn't rattled yet, but she knew this was uncharted territory. Mark wasn't playing by the usual talk show rules, and the air was beginning to feel charged, like static ready to spark. Kelly leaned back, smile steady but gaze sharp. "A trap, huh? You've been in this game long enough to know that showing some of the real you makes people root for you more. What's holding you back?" Mark's hands gripped the chair like he was bracing for impact. His eyes flicked to the audience, then back to Kelly, raw emotion flashing across his face, anger or maybe vulnerability. "What's holding me back?" he repeated, voice low. "Maybe I don't trust the room. Maybe I know how this works. I open up, spill my guts, and tomorrow its headlines twisted into something I never meant." The audience gasped softly. Kelly didn't flinch. "Mark, this is a safe space. Nobody's out to get you. We're just talking." "Safe space," Mark repeated, his tone biting. "That's what they all say. Then it's clipped, memed, turned into a soundbite. I've seen it." "I'm not falling for it." His words landed like punches, and the room shifted uneasily. Some audience members nodded in sympathy, others whispered nervously. Kelly spread her hands, trying to ground the moment. "Fair, you've got a point. The world can be brutal with words, but let's pivot. Tell us about the role. What drew you to it? Mark's eyes darkened. He saw the pivot for what it was. The movie? It's about a guy who fights for what's his, doesn't let anyone push him around. Guess I relate to that a little too much today. The crowd laughed nervously, unsure if it was a joke. Kelly pressed on. Relate how? You've built this empire, movies, businesses, family. What's got you feeling like you're still fighting? Mark ran a hand over his face. You want to know what I'm fighting? I'm fighting the idea that I owe everyone a piece of me. That I've got to smile for the cameras, pretend I'm not human. I'm tired of it. Gasps rippled across the room. A few clapped at his honesty. Kelly's smile softened, but her eyes darted toward the stage manager again. I get it. Nobody wants to feel boxed in, but people care, Mark. They want to know you, not just the action hero. Mark shook his head. They don't want me, Kelly. They want the story they can sell. The studio felt smaller, hotter, tension wrapping around the set like a coil about to snap. Kelly leaned closer, her voice calm but piercing. What's weighing on you? Something's got you guarded. I can feel it. Mark's jaw tightened. His eyes scanned the crowd like he was searching for an escape. For a moment, it seemed he would shut down. But then, in a near whisper that carried through the microphones, he said, I got a call this morning. Someone I trusted, dragging up old stuff, trying to use it against me. That's why I'm not in the mood for this. The room froze. Kelly's eyes widened, but she didn't interrupt. Mark's voice rose, sharper now. That's the problem, Kelly. Everyone's listening, waiting for me to slip, to give them something they can twist. I'm not here to air my laundry for the world. Kelly shook her head. I'm not asking you to air anything. Sometimes talking takes the weight off. You don't have to carry it alone. Mark laughed bitterly. Carry it alone? That's all I've ever done. You think this? He gestured at the cameras, the lights, the crowd. Makes it easier? It's a circus and I'm tired of being the act. The audience gasped again. Kelly steadied herself, refusing to retreat. You showed up. That's strength. Don't sell yourself short. Mark leaned forward, voice low and cutting. Strength is knowing when to walk away. The silence was deafening. The stage manager waved frantically to cut to commercial, but Kelly stayed locked in. Walk away from the show or something bigger? Mark's eyes narrowed. Maybe both. I don't need this. I don't need to sit here and play nice while someone's out there trying to tear me down. The audience stirred, some shocked, others leaning forward. Kelly held firm. Nobody's tearing you down here. This is a conversation, not a fight. But Mark was already rising, his chair scraping the floor. I'm done talking. The audience gasped loudly as he stood, towering over the set, his face burning with anger and resolve. Kelly rose too, instinctively reaching out. Mark, wait! But he was gone, striding off stage, leaving the set frozen in stunned silence. Kelly stood center stage, her hand still outstretched, her face a mix of shock and determination. The cameras stayed on her. The stage manager signaled desperately for a commercial, but Kelly shook her head. She turned to the audience. Folks, we're going to keep this real. That was intense, but let's take a breath together. The audience clapped hesitantly. Kelly sat back down, her voice calm, steady. This job is about real moments, messy ones, too. Mark's going through something, and I respect that. We all have days where the world feels heavy. Backstage, Mark paced, his team hovering. A producer rushed in. Mark, we need you back out there. We can smooth this over. Smooth it over? Mark shot back. I'm not a puppet. I'm done. The producer stood her ground. Walking off is a statement. Do you want to leave it like that? Mark hesitated, torn between anger and regret. He glanced at the monitor showing Kelly, who was connecting with the audience, turning his meltdown into something human. A flicker of recognition crossed his face. Finally, he said, I'll go back out, but not for you, for her. When he walked back on stage, the audience erupted in gasps and applause. Kelly's face lit with relief and caution. Mark paused at the edge of the stage, then said clearly, I owe you an apology. I came in hot and I took it out on you. That wasn't fair. The crowd hushed. Kelly shook her head. You don't owe me anything. You're human. You came back, and that's what matters. This time, Mark sat. His voice steadier, he admitted. That call I got this morning, it messed me up. Someone I trusted tried to drag up old stuff. I walked in ready to fight the world. The audience listened in silence. I'm not perfect, he continued. I've made mistakes, but I've worked to move past them. And when someone tries to drag you back, it's like a punch you don't see coming. Kelly nodded softly. We've all got pass. But you came back out here, that's what matters. A crack in Mark's armor showed as his lips twitched into almost a smile. You make it hard to stay mad, Kelly. You've got that thing, making people feel like they're not alone. The crowd laughed gently, the tension finally easing. Kelly grinned. That's the goal. Now let's switch gears. Your movie! This character's a fighter too, right? Mark leaned back, some of his usual charisma returning. Yeah, he's a guy who doesn't quit. Guess I relate to that. The audience laughed louder this time, the energy lighter. The rest of the interview flowed more easily, Mark plugging his film with stories of grueling stunts and near misses. The earlier storm had softened, replaced with something quieter, more human. As the segment ended, the audience gave a standing ovation, not just for Mark's star power, but for the raw honesty they had witnessed. Kelly hugged him, a genuine one this time, and he returned it, his earlier fire replaced by something steadier. As he left the stage, waving to the crowd, Kelly turned to the camera, her smile warm but knowing. That's what this show is about, y'all. Real moments, real people. We'll be right back. The audience roared as the screen faded to black, the weight of the clash and its resolution lingering in the air.